This is a battle between two Iberian tribes, the Arevaci, commanded by me, and the Lusitani, commanded by Spora. I got the Arevaci with a random faction generator, and Spora counterpicked with the Lusitani, which is a decent matchup, I think. I think the edge goes to Lusitani in this matchup because of the veteran shield warriors. They are superior to Scutari, a bit more expensive, but very good. The cavalry of Arevaci is slightly better than the cavalry of Lusitani, so they can have a slight edge there, and their nobles have more armor but cost more. So, I'm going to claim the hill right away. My opponent has the forest. I don't have very many skirmishers, so not too worried about that. But I have 3 Celtiberian cavalry, I have 4 noble fighters, 4 Scutari, and 5 Iberian swords. So these serve as skirmishers. It can be argued that this army doesn't have skirmishers, but it actually has 5 units capable of skirmishing, although they are medium melee infantry. So, up on the hill to see what we can see, and here I see some big juicy targets. Scutari and Iberian cavalry. I have to take this engagement because my Celtiberian cavalry charging downhill is going to destroy these units here. And here we go, getting a good charge on these Iberian cavalry. They are blowing up, all attacking the one unit. This unit kind of stops at a weird angle. I hate it when that happens. So I'm going to send around this unit to get some to envelop these guys, so they will take a lot of casualties if they try to disengage. Now here again, I think they're going to get caught by a single guy or something, and then the whole unit will stop, and that is just so incredibly retarded. So I have to spam orders and try to envelop them again. I am winning decisively, sending my Iberian swords to deal with the Celtiberian cavalry, but I'm going to be able to get the rear charge here, and his cavalry is going bye-bye very quickly indeed. So pretty important, not just sending everything in straight away, but my opponent did, so I'm quite happy about it. And I was able to destroy 3 cavalry units there, and although it wasn't completely for free, it didn't really cost me much of my Celtiberian cavalry, to be honest. I lost close to a unit, but not quite, and these Cantabrian cavalry get some kills on me, but that's fine. I'm sending in the Iberian swords to throw some javelins their way. And here I can see the rest of my opponent's army coming into view. So in addition to the two Iberian cavalry that I killed and the Scutari, I can see 3 Balearic slingers, and these can be a major pain in the ass. The Lusitani nobles, he's got 3 of those, and 2 of these Iberian swords, 2 Lusitani spears. Actually, he's got some Scutari spearmen on the flanks. Managed to get a volley off on this Cantabrian cavalry, or Cantabrian cavalry. Now he's pushing a bit far forward with his Balearic slingers here, I think. So I'm going to being a bit too greedy. So I'm going to send in my Celtiberian cavalry, mainly to push them away while I make my approach towards the rest of his army. So he has a total of 4 Lusitani nobles. They are kind of cancelled out by my noble fighters, and I can't see any veteran shield warriors, so that makes me kind of happy. Veteran shield warriors would be a pain to deal with. So I'm going to try to send my Celtiberian cavalry through, but again, it's completely retarded that an entire unit stops moving in the direction they were moving when a single guy from the unit gets caught. It's just really annoying, but I'm going to continue to push them away while I'm pushing up all of my units, because I don't need to have these Balearic slingers firing at me while I am making my approach. I'm going to try to send these depleted units around, finish off some more cavalry over here. This unit is going to... I'm probably not going to be able to catch these guys here. I'm probably going to get shot to death, but these guys are going to make the enemy use his missiles, and it's going to, more importantly, stop these guys from firing for a while. So, managing to kill quite a few Lusitano nobles here by focusing fire with my Iberians. So, Iberian swords, a very useful unit. Look at this Lusitano noble unit go, it's just getting destroyed by Iberian swords. And here comes the second line, both Scutari and noble fighters. Now I would have preferred to match noble fighters against noble fighters, but things happen a bit quickly here, so I'm just basically sending in what I've got, trying to flank with some Scutari here, and some noble fighters. And now my Iberian swords, of course, since they aren't skirmishers and I'm giving them attack orders, they're just going to run forward and get stuck here. So that's pretty bad. Using the Iberian swords to take care of the rest of the Cantabrian cavalry. These guys are way out on the flank, so it's going to take some time until they are able to join the battlefield. My Scutari should have no problems with dealing with these Scutari spearmen, and in this blob I should be able to do fairly well with my larger number of sword units. As long as I pull out these Iberian swords, because I'm going to need them for the late game. So my opponent has already used Headhunt, I haven't used Headhunt yet, so he's going to get exhausted fairly soon. So I don't think that was the smartest use of Headhunt. Scutari Spearmen getting destroyed by noble fighters. Here my Scutari are just holding some Iberian swords, preventing them from throwing their deadly Soliferums, and I'm sending my Scutari into these Iberian swords as well. So Iberian swords need to be dealt with. In my opinion, they are more important to deal with than these Balearic Slingers, because these Iberian swords can both fire their javelins and then charge into melee. I want to kill them before they're able to get into my flanks and before they're able to shoot all of their missiles. So these Balearic Slingers, they're not really effective now because they're firing into blobs of already engaged units. First unit of Lusitani nobles going down. I haven't lost a single noble fighter unit, so that's good. This unit is losing decisively. It's kind of engaged against several units here. A unit of guerrilla warriors, a bit late to the party. Here you can see what Iberian swords can do to engaged infantry, firing from the back, destroying Lusitani nobles. Now these Iberian swords are also being destroyed, and the Lusitani spears, very low quality, or they aren't that low quality actually, that's wrong, they are decent spear infantry, not low quality at all actually, just disregard that statement. And here I'm going to start chasing away his Balearic Slingers. I don't want them firing at all, so I'm going to use all the guys I can to just push them away, which is also going to allow me to get a nice charge with my general into his Lusitani nobles. He's going to use Headhunt, but still being charged downhill, and my guys are exhausted, so I probably should use Headhunt pretty soon, because the fatigue penalty won't matter when they already are exhausted. So this would be a good time for me to use Headhunt, but I don't. I need to finish up these fights here. I have enough infantry to send in to support, more than enough. I just need to push away these skirmishers so they aren't able to do what they're doing now to these Scutari. And now the skirmishers are being very, very effective when shooting at these depleted units. So this is what I want to avoid, because these Balearic Slingers can really ruin my day now. I need to send in units to make sure they won't be able to participate in the battle. Sending in some Scutari in the front against these Lusitani nobles should get me some more kills on them. This Lusitani noble unit is dying, and noble fighters chasing away Balearic Slingers. Now I probably should have used another unit if I had one available. I don't think I had one available. So chasing after Balearic Slingers with noble fighters is not the smartest idea in the world. I'm going to lose my general here against these Lusitani nobles. Luckily I have enough units left and some units with Inspire, so it doesn't really hurt me that too bad. I am slightly ahead in terms of the amount of units I have left, but these guys can potentially be very difficult. So I'm just going to give move orders to push them away from the battlefield as much as possible. If I deal with this general and the rest of his army, that should be enough to make his slingers rout, I think. Lusitani nobles going down to my noble fighters. And let's just have a look at the stats on these guys. So now granted these are upgraded, but we'll get a certain idea of. So I believe that the Lusitani nobles have higher melee attack and melee defense. Yeah, higher melee attack and melee defense, and lower armor by 30. They have. But other than that, the noble fighters have higher weapon damage, but they'll hit less often. So I guess in melee they are. I haven't tested these units against each other, I believe. I think they are fairly evenly matched. The noble fighters will be slightly better against missiles because of their better armor and very heavy heavy, I believe. Yeah. But now the noble fighters are coming in and they're going to destroy the guerrilla warriors, even though they are exhausted. I'm just about able to catch these slingers with my Scutari, and I'm having them in these thin lines to take as little damage from missiles as possible. So one unit of Balearic slingers going down. Here I'm just chasing them away, and instead of charging straight into the Lusitani nobles here that are doing extremely well, I'm going to go around and try to go for a rear charge. But the formations are kind of weird because there are guys just lying around everywhere and standing around everywhere, so I'm not really able to get a clean charge. These guys are exhausted, so they're kind of just like shambling into the combat, but I'm winning this combat. I have a unit of noble fighters here, a unit of Iberian swords here, and they're actually getting some kills, and I have a unit of noble fighters coming in here, so this game is over. Basically, just going to fast forward to the end of it, and I think what won me this game was the initial cavalry engagement. My opponent should never have taken that cavalry engagement. I had the terrain advantage and I had the unit quality advantage, so it was a pretty poor engagement for my opponent. And here my opponent, he didn't concede defeat, he left the game. So I think there's a difference between conceding and leaving. I haven't left the game, so I'm not really sure, but still I got the Pyrrhic victory. And I think the main difference between our armies here was that I just brought a shit ton more swords. And I brought more of these Iberian swords. This isn't really the most effective Lusitani build you can bring. It can work, of course. Lusitani nobles, very strong units. But I would like to see more veteran fighters, less cavalry, and some more Iberian swords. The Balearic slingers are fine, but if you're going to use Balearic slingers, I believe you have to be a bit more patient than my opponent was, and use the cavalry to protect the skirmishers for as long as possible. Scutari did pretty well, all of these units did fairly well. You can see what happens when Scutari is matched up against noble fighters. They won't get very many kills, but against the depleted unit of noble fighters, Iberian swords can do very well. Not too impressive by the Celtiberian cavalry, but they were able to deal with most of these cavalry units and destroy them, so they were close to being cost effective in this battle. And more importantly, maybe they were able to push away these Balearic slingers at the beginning, so I could close ranks with my opponent. So, pretty fun matchup, I think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again